In just 2 more months, which will be July, it will actually be my 5th year of staying here and living here in the US. These 5 years have been tough, life-changing, but it was also worth it. I grew up in a city called Shanghai, which is pretty much like the New York City of China. It was a city full of like different races, and it was just full of passionate people, and it was just a city full of like blooming culture and fashion. As a kid, I wasn't the smartest or the most talented, but one of the things I just loved doing was just being myself, and I was really silly, but I was happy doing that. I was just starting my preteen years when I moved to the US, and things just drastically changed. Because when you're going through that phase, one of the most important things you needed to prepare for yourself was mentally preparing yourself for middle school, and that was like the preparation I lacked. Because I only had about a week of getting myself together and starting school, I didn't get a chance to approach the culture over here at all. So I lacked in understanding the music, TV shows, or even the basic social skills needed. I went to a school, I guess you could say, wasn't the best. So, and being shy and afraid didn't help me communicate with people at all. So I was often teased about the way I act, dress, or even look. And that has actually caused me to be ashamed like who I am. And I wouldn't speak Chinese in front of my friends or even with my parents in public. And I just remember being at school and wanting to go home so badly. And even if I went home, home didn't even feel like home. And I just wanted to go back. So not only did I have to adjust to the lifestyle, I also met my biggest competition I'd ever had in life, and that was my sister. She's currently a senior at OSIS right now, and she's always been like perfect in front of my parents' eyes. She's graduating with honors. She recently got accepted into Caltech, and on top of that, she's also top 6 out of the whole entire school. So comparing to her, I've always felt like I came in second, and I've just always been defeated through like everything. Well, I've never really had the perfect grades in throughout school, and by perfect, I mean like no Asian Fs at all. And my mom would always be like, "Oh, you better get into Harvard," or like just joking around with me like that. And one of the things I did was piano. I became like good at piano, but it wasn't something I felt passionate about. It was just sort of something I was forced into because I needed a talent or just like a skill. I started piano about 4 years ago, and recently this March, I passed with a level 10 certificate. Well, everybody was impressed with me at first because it's hard to like accomplish that in just 4 years, but little did they know that I've only worked this hard to get rid of the torturous days I just sit in front of my piano to practice every single day. Since my first years of middle school was absolutely terrible, my mom decided to enroll me into dance. And at first, my first impression of dance was just the music videos I've seen on MTV, which is like Britney Spears and Beyonce, so I was like, I don't think I'm ready for that yet, Mom. But I was obviously wrong because dance eventually became one of my passions. And over the years, it has like given me a lot of confidence. But it wasn't really until last year that I realized it was something I really loved doing in the future. And I auditioned for the senior team at my studio and made it. But from there on, there were weekend practices and weekday practices every single week out of every month out of the whole entire year, and it wore me out like a lot. And it also taken away from my social life, but I'd say it was still worth it. The studio became my second home, and I wasn't a stranger anymore because I felt like I belonged like somewhere. And it just brought my confidence up and up, and I was just really happy, and I just loved being myself again and wasn't afraid of like who I was. So I'd like to end with a few things I would have given like as advice to my former self or like I wish someone would have told me back then. When I was 12, I would have told myself not to be afraid because I was so afraid of just anything. Like, I was afraid of people, so I wouldn't communicate or like talk at all and just sit there quietly, like awkwardly. And I was afraid of like change because all of a sudden I realized that I had to throw away everything in the past and then move on into like a new country and start new. And that was, it just like hit me. When I was 13, I would have told myself different is good, and there's no need to be like ashamed of like your uniqueness or just embrace your characteristics because that makes you who you are. And at age 14, I would have told myself, find your passion and stop lying around thinking you can't do anything or you're not good enough to do anything because you have competition. You're always going to face like competition in life, and you just have to learn to deal with them. And right now, I say to myself, go for it. Because you've changed and went through way too much to give up on anything. So just dream big, and that's it.